نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear respected brothers, sisters, elders, youngsters all around the world, I greet you with the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessings be upon all of you. So today, as we are recording the second video of the discussion we were carrying out, which was the successful investment in the coming years post 2023. So this video is the second part of this, and in this video we'll be discussing the recommended responses to the successful investments and the risks that are attached to those investments in the coming years. So as we've talked about, the risk and challenges that the businesses will be facing, and we will be encountering in the coming years. Today it will be discussing about the responses that we can take and what I would recommend to you guys as a businessman, that these are the right recommended responses and the way to go about carrying out those businesses to make sure they are successful. So number one, I would start off with the beautiful hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah peace and blessings be upon the last and final messenger, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the hadith says, and it is narrated in Musnad al-Ahmad. It is a sahih narration, that means it's authentic, graded authentic by the Imam, and it is a hadith number 12,902. And it says, عن أنس بن مالك قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن قامت على أحدكم القيامة إن قامت على أحدكم القيامة وفي يده فسلة فليغرسها قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the translation to the closest meaning, إن قامت على أحدكم, so if the أحدكم القيامة, if the qiyamah is established upon one of you, and وفي يده, and in his hand, فسلة, a sapling, let's call it a seed or a small plant of a smaller size, which we plant to grow the trees. So it's very important hadith to look into, and I'll explain you the significance of this hadith and the importance of this hadith in today's time. It was never ever so important than actually in today's time. That is the reason why I say to the ulamas of today is that they have to relate everything from the hadith and Quran to today's time, because it makes so much more sense now. In qamat ala ahadikumul qiyamah, if anyone sees a qiyamah being established, and wafi yadihi, and in his hand, faslatun, a sapling, a seed is in the hand, or the small plant is in the hand, falyaghrisha, so plant it. This is the command of the Prophet ﷺ, that even if you see that the doomsday has appeared in front of you, and you can see the doomsday taking place, and the qiyamah has happened, and the destruction is about to go off, at that time, even if you have a plant or a small tree in your hand, then make sure you plant it. Subhanallah. This is the beautiful wisdom behind the words of the Prophet ﷺ. These were the words not spoken for no reason. They were spoken for every single reason that we are facing today. So subhanallah, 1445 years ago, Rasulullah ﷺ, the final messenger ﷺ, the blessed soul, he spoke and he said in the presence of the Sahaba that if the Qiyamah takes place and you have a seed in your hand or small plant in your hand, make sure you plant it. Now, let me relate it to the global warming. The biggest challenge that 2023 faces, and the businesses face, and we all face, is the deforestation. Deforestation has been happening long ago, since a very long time, and not enough has been done, or nothing has been done, in other words. And until 2000, the organization started speaking about the global warming, the climate change, and the cutting the trees, etc. Countries have tried to protect as much as they could, in their own dominions. However, we have failed as a global community to work on this, the issue we are facing. And it's very important to understand that the fossil fuels we are burning, the atmosphere that's been polluted by us, by the vehicles, by other things, by the jets going up in the air. It's important to understand that we have not done anything to counter, to relate or to deal with the problem, which is caused by these pollutants, which is, the trees. The trees are the filters, as we know, that they filter all this pollution and turn that carbon dioxide into the oxygen that we breathe every day. And without oxygen, we won't be able to breathe, and also, the whole ecosystem will be collapsed. And that's the reason why we have the planet is on fire, it's burning. So it's important to understand this hadith, subhanallah, in the holy wisdom words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in qayamat ala hadikumul qiyamah wa fi yadihi fasla falyaghrisha. So if any one of you witnesses the doomsday and they have a plant in their hand, make sure you plant that tree. So do you see the importance of the plantation in today's world? And this hadith, I'm going to tell you clearly, my brothers and sisters all across the globe, it is directly telling us, and the true interpretation of this hadith, according to me, is that it has never been, now this time 2023 and the years we're living in, it's never been so important to plant the trees than now. So we need to understand the word that has been used, even the qiyamah, the doomsday, the destruction. So we have that situation in front of us. We're dealing with that problem. What is the problem? Why is the United Nations not able to address this issue? They are trying their best, but now they don't have a solution. They're thinking, what do we do? They're trying to cut down on the pollutants. They're trying to cut down on the vehicles and other things, and try to turn them into electric, etc., to save the environment. However, now take the word of the blessed Prophet ﷺ, which can never go wrong, is the solution to this problem of this global warming lies only in forestation, to sow the seeds and to plant the trees, more trees. So that would be one of my recommendations today. Now, moving on to actually starting my topic now. It's been so long that I've been discussing about the hadith, which is very important. That's the reason why I've been pressing upon that. Now, today, the recommended responses to having these successful businesses, we're going to stick to that. So what are the recommended responses? I have 4 responses that I'm going to give you and 1 solution. All right. And the first response I'm going to give you is resorting to the higher altitudes. As I've spoken about, that the solution to the businesses and to running the businesses lies in moving to the higher altitudes and sticking to the more natural resources based organizations and businesses, not more so to do with artificial intelligence and technology, because that's going to be going downhill from now onwards. And the only thing that's going to work, you might actually think that the technology is developing everything, but I see a clear bust that's going to be taking place, and the destruction of the technology will start very soon. So in that way, my first recommended response to anyone who wants to set up a successful business is to make sure they resort to the higher altitudes without any delay. So you can do 2 things. You can either buy a cheaper land, because the villages, the higher altitudes, they're not that costly. So you still have the opportunity and the gate is open. So go and buy the cheaper land, or if no one sells you the land, the cheapest alternative is that you lease the land for at least maximum of 20 years. The reason why I say that is because you only need to prepare for 20 years. What's going to happen after, we're gonna cover that once we are 15 years from today. So that's the first recommendation if you want to have your business a successful business, is to move to the higher altitudes. Number 2, form smaller villages to stay self-sufficient. So now the new rule about the smaller cities, people are talking about the organization and the Western countries and the American countries. However, this is my proposal, that you need to set up your own small villages, whether you have a community of 20, even as little as 20 houses, or 200 houses maximum. You need to go no more than 200 houses. That's my opinion as a businessman and as an analyst. Why? Because it's easy to control, it's easy to develop, and it gives you more fruits on a shorter time period. So you need to work on smaller villages to stay self-sufficient, such as the places I would recommend. Not so recommended, but I'll still put on my list Scotland. Second will be Switzerland. The third will be Himalayas. Fourth will be French Alps. And when I say French Alps, you need to stay away from glaciers to make sure you don't get taken down by a big, huge, monster glacier. So you need to understand these are the 4 recommendations for the smaller villages to be formed in these areas. They are safer. However, the most safer out of these 4, Scotland, Switzerland, Himalayas, and Alps, Himalayas are the most safer. Even though, the scientists would say that the tectonic plates and Himalayas are prone to risks of earthquakes. But I see, while my prediction as a student of knowledge is that it will be the most safe place in the whole of the world when it comes to economy, when it comes to the landmark, when it comes to, the cheaper labor force, etc. Now, We've talked about resorting to the higher altitudes. We've talked about smaller villages to stay self-sufficient. Third recommendation I'm putting forward in front of you is that giving up fossil fuels, and that goes with everybody. So giving up fossil fuels mean if you have a diesel car, you downgrade or upgrade to a petrol. If you have a petrol, you upgrade to an electric. And if you're an electric, you try to think of like solar power, etc. So this is the way forward, right? And the fourth thing, we can definitely go into so much more detail, but my video time is limited. So I'm going to stick to the basic points. Number 4, and the last recommendation to you guys to have a successful business going forward, is to make sure we are planting 4 times by more trees than current. So if you have 1 forest, then you need to grow it by 4 forests. If you have 1 tree, you need to plant more 4 trees. And that goes all around the globe, everybody's responsibility. And that will be the only solution to reverse the global warming effect and the impact. So if you need to start reversing, you need to grow 4 times by more plants. Every person is responsible in their own locality to grow 4 times more plants than they have in their locality. And that would bring our organization, our global image of global warming down to a cooler state. So that's my recommendation. These 4 recommendations are directly going to hit our businesses. Why? Because if you're planting trees, you are in a safer place. You're not going to have floodings. You're going to have little problems. Second, your fossil fuels, you're giving up fossil fuels, you're resorting to better technology. That's really good achievement as a business. Smaller villages to stay self-sufficient, I'm going backwards, is to make sure that you have a cheaper labor available, you have more resources available, and then you have a cheaper land available as well. So these are the best solutions in the coming years when the inflation is rising. And last one, as we discussed as a first point, resorting to the higher altitudes, there's a cheaper land, cheaper labor, atmosphere is nice and you can enjoy more. That's how it works. And also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about taking your businesses and sheep and the flock up to the higher altitudes, because they will be the safer place from the destruction of the planet. So I hope you have understood how this will work. Lastly, I'm going to talk about, it's a very important point. People might comment and they might ask, how is it possible? Let me make it clear and nice and easy for you. Now, I don't want people to find excuses to say, oh, sorry, I can't do that. If you don't do it, then you don't get it. If you don't save yourself today, then you're going to be destroyed tomorrow. So do this, implement it, and start working on it. How you're going to do that is you can get in touch with me. You can telephone me. You can email me. You can meet me in person, and I'll try to help you as much as I can and direct you to the right place. In regards to how is a big question. We should form a federation or an organization of medium to large size on a scale and educate people. So, when we have like-minded people, we can achieve these goals within a year or 2. And then when this organization formed, then the work will start getting done more and more. And the, the climate change will start, becoming more under control. And then we'll have the solution to the problems that we are currently facing as business people. So that's all I can say. And I would say the only solution to a successful future of organization in terms of the recommended responses I would give is this. And we should not delay it. We should start working on it. If you have any problems in terms of understanding how this is possible, then you have my link. You just, send me a message, private chat, and I can deal with you more. And afterwards, when I get to know you, I can sort of like give you more information. But everything we do has to be safe for yourself and others. That's more important. And I hope you've enjoyed this topic. It is a very, very long, lengthy topic, but I've tried to keep it in a nutshell. So thank you very much for listening. وآخر دعوانا عن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.